Welcome to your 100% Footy Ultimate Preliminary Final Extravaganza. Great to have you with us. This lot, it's going off in here tonight. What a show we've got for you. There's tension already here between these two, Storm and Sharks Friday. The top dog with his report card on his Bulldogs after they bowed out. So much to get through. Izzy Katoa's in the house. Daryl Halligan, Emma Veron, and so much more. So let's rip in.
Every time that I look in the mirror, all these lines on my face getting clearer.
Dreams are free.
It's hard to imagine any team in the comp stopping Penrith.
But goals have a cost.
Utter disbelief. The Broncos looked like they were going to win by 30.
While you can daydream for free.
They're daring to dream again, the Sharks fans.
Goals don't come without a price. Time, effort,
Sacrifice.
sweat. How will you pay for your goals?
The Sharks go back to back. They're not going to get him from there. The Panthers are flying. That is unbelievable football. Toby Rudolph then Hunt put the Broncos into a preliminary final. Booking the home prelim. Wilton is sent the Sharks through to a preliminary final. The Panthers from last are through to the final four.
Dreams are free, so are the finals. Live and free on 9.
And this incredible story continues to unfold.
It is set up so nicely for this weekend. Cannot wait for them to put it all right. But in the meantime, we're going to have some fun with this lot and the gang up here. Oh, I love this time of year. Paul Gallen, evening to you.
Thanks, Bracey.
Cameron Smith.
Hello, Brace.
Nice to see you, mate. Solana Ferguson.
Hello, Brace.
Fired up, ready to go?
Ready to rock,
Of course
mate.
you are. Top dog.
James Bracey,
How was Mad Monday for you?
I think there's... I'm just waiting for the phone to ring. They're still out there somewhere.
Hopefully it's a good update from the security guards with your players. More on that later on. But I tell you what about the weekend we've got coming up on the back of a couple of unforgettable ones? 4 matches across the NRL and the NRLW. The prelims, wherever you look. Storm Sharkies Friday night. So much venom between those two. That match is in Melbourne. And then Saturday in Gosford on the beautiful Sunny Coast, the Roosters and the Sharkies going head-to-head here on 9. Sunday, the Bronx and the Knights in the women's prelim. And straight after that, in the men's match, there's plenty of spite between these two. The Broncos and the Panthers, it's all or nothing for everyone. A grand final spot at stake. And amazingly too, Gus, you look at the 3 of those 4 matches, you've got recent grand finalists going head-to-head. 2016 with the Sharkies and the Storm, and obviously the Bronx and the Panthers a couple of years back.
Well, I think if you go back to everyone's February predictions and you ask them to name the top 4 sides in the comp, they'd say Penrith, Storm, Broncos and Sharks, and they've been the top sides for the last 4 years. It's taken us 29 weeks, but the cream has risen to the top, and they're all there for this preliminary final weekend, which is amazing. Great sides, it'll be a great weekend of footy.
Could have played the finals in March. You two, I noticed you both rostered on for Friday night. How's that going to be on the sideline? A lot at stake for you two in your old clubs?
He won everything multiple times. I finally got one grand final. Let me just take it. And me and Smithy have always got on great. We've always get on good, so there's no issue between me and him. But I think when whenever teams play each other in a grand final, there's always going to be that rivalry there. And this one's always going to be remembered from the Sharkies' point of view because as the first ever premiership we won. As I said, Smithy won multiple. Here he is getting 10 in the sin bin.
We had the Sharks.
Finally got him.
You know that night he got sent to the sin bin at Shark Park, some bloke on Twitter said they've even sent the referee off. They're getting very serious tonight.
It was a hell of a crackdown. And you were singing up the other night. I caught you. You're ready for the Sharkies.
How'd your husband go, actually?
Oh, yeah, he's a Raiders nut. Poor old guy. Yep, that went well.
He's completely brushed me.
You keep
There might have been a little bit of in-house niggle, but that's all right.
you keep tipping against them though.
It's working.
You're tipping the Storm this week?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
That means the Sharks will win. Hey, gal.
A big preview of both preliminary finals a little later on. But, of course, the big talking point coming out of yesterday, Gus, the Dogs season, while it was an improvement on last year with a top 4 finish, bowing out in straight sets in the end. Amazing scenes and a huge crowd there to boot in a beautiful Sydney afternoon. But I think everyone in this studio and watching on the box would say there was no team that was beating that Penrith side yesterday.
No, we played a champion team at full strength and they had their best day of the season. I think it's been a great year for the Bulldogs. We're so proud to get to where we've got, but it's not our time at the moment. It certainly wasn't our day yesterday. We ran into a red-hot side. There are a number of factors that probably led a little bit to our performance, but I don't want to take anything away from what Penrith have done. To come from where they were at the mid-season point, to be back now to defend their title over the preliminary rounds is testament to a great club, and they were just too good for us. And this fella there, Nathan Cleary, proved yet again he's the best in the game.
He's insane, isn't he? Do you know what? I actually thought the style that Penrith Panthers played showed how much respect they have for the Bulldogs side. They came out, usually we see Penrith thrive in the last sort of 5-10 minutes of each half. They love being in that arm wrestle and they just wait, they build pressure and then they sort of unleash. Well, they came out and just flex their muscles early on. They didn't want to get in the arm wrestle with that Bulldogs side because they can be quite similar. So I think that shows, or that gives a lot of credit to the Dogs. And then, I mean, the master himself, Nathan, what can't he do? That was wild.
Well, that's the thing, Cam. Nathan doing what Nathan does. Blaze Talangi looking more and more comfortable too out there on the field with him. And you got the wingers like Alamotti and Brian To'o finishing like they finish. It was the perfect storm for
them. Yeah, it's pretty incredible, really, to think where this team has come from, particularly the halfway mark of the year, where it is so hard to claw your way back. If you're not sitting in the top 8 or in and around that top 8, like this team was last. To think that they've clawed their way all the way back now to be 80 minutes away from another grand final. Not just another grand final, it's 6 grand finals in a row. 6. And the possibility of 5 premierships consecutively. It's amazing. And it shows, the work ethic of this footy side to not say, well, yeah, you know what, over the past 5 years, we're pretty happy with that. Anyone can be happy with 5 grand finals in a row, 4 premierships in a row. They're out there still wanting to be the best in this competition and wanting to be the best, and they're going to have to be at their best this week against the Broncos.
And where they were, Smithy, like they were last, as you said, but it wasn't just they were last, the way they were playing.
They were playing poorly.
They were ordinary. And it was their senior players. They had these young guys coming to the squad looking for the senior players to produce, and they weren't. They were playing ordinary. Then all of a sudden they just found their groove, and yesterday they were 20 from 20 at one stage. They were perfect. They played almost a perfect half of football. And just led by 30 points at half-time, whatever it was. They were flying.
Daytime footy as well. Do you think that suits their style, Gus?
I think I saw a stat before the game. Nathan Cleary hasn't lost a daytime game since 2019. Like 6 years since he's lost a daytime game, because that's their best football. I think their attack is very underrated. Everyone's talked about the great Panther defence over the last few years, but their attack is also very underrated. They use it spasmodically. I mean, they really go for the jugular at different times. But yesterday they took that game by the scruff of the neck. Big games are like this. You get 2 teams that go into a big game, and they've both got their plan, they've both got their strategy, the way they want to play, and you've got to go out and get it on first. Now, with all their finals experience, Panthers did that. Bulldogs couldn't get their game on at all, and they didn't allow Bulldogs to get it on. The other challenge is that if your opposition is playing the game that they want to play, you've got to absorb the pressure. You've got to feel comfortable being uncomfortable and repel them until your time comes. And the Bulldogs just couldn't do that till half-time came, and then the game relaxed a little bit and they were to get into a little bit of football. But never once in the first half do I remember us playing the ball anywhere near their end of the field. It was just methodical, controlled, kicking game. And, of course, scoring plenty of points as well.
We'll do a big preview against, obviously, the Bronx. They've got some key decisions to make, and their halves in particular. And Reece Walsh, in the form he's been, they're rested as well a little later on. The Dogs, though, season wraps up, as we joked about at the top. Mad Monday for the side today. The biggest takeaway, losing your skipper and your best player, Stephen Crichton, that hurts as well, the wrong end.
Yeah, and look, this is not making excuses, but that was our 13th game in a row. We haven't had a bye since round 16. And in the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've played Storm twice, we've played Panthers, we've played Sharks, and then we've got into Melbourne and Penrith in the finals, who are the 2 top sides. So it's certainly been a tough road. A few weeks ago, when Panthers decided to rest their top players and players with their reserve grade side, we actually contemplated doing the same in that game, just to have a break, in that game as well. We decided that we would go for it because that would get us into the top 4. And we really thought we were a chance of beating Melbourne in Melbourne, which we went very close to doing. And I do think, apart from the injuries, we might have been able to sneak home there. And that would have got us a fortnight off leading in the preliminary final. They put a lot into last week. There were some big injuries came out of it. Some players played with injury yesterday. Not taking anything away from the Panthers, but the season just got a little bit too long for us at the moment. It's not our time. Our time will come, and I was very happy with the season. We set so many records internally, corporately and crowd-wise, and we played in front of the 3 biggest crowds this season. We played in big finals crowd again. it's wonderful to be back in finals football, and hopefully we can repeat it next year.
Because I thought the Bulldogs overachieved. I think they had a great season. I reckon that's why you might have re-signed Cameron Serrata for so long. He's obviously done a fantastic job, but I can't help but think there's a little bit of self-sabotage when you went and signed Lockie Galvin. How do you guys feel about that decision as a club now? Do you think it was the right decision that you made? I know you're saying you've done it for the future for the next 2 or 3 years, but I just think about the current team and where they were at the time and where they ended up.
It suits the media narrative to say that the way that you describe it there. None of that was in our four walls, none of it anywhere, from any players or any coaches or what have you. We're delighted to have him on our books. We took the opportunity when it arose. It came out of the blue. We didn't know it was going to happen at that time, but we made a decision that we wanted him in our club, and that's what we did. You know, it's led to this media barrage, and a lot of it has been childish and extremely unfair. But as I say to the boys, welcome to the Bulldogs. We get that stuff all the time. It's a part of being in our jersey. This boy was outstanding yesterday. In a badly beaten side, I thought he really showed his class. And he's a real player of the future, and that's what we've bought him for. The player he's going to be, not the player he is at the moment. I thought he did outstandingly well, coming in when he did, to play as many games as he did for us, under the pressure that he had. And he's never played halfback before. He's never played halfback in any junior football whatsoever. So it was a big ask from him, and I think he's done an outstanding job.
What does this final series do? I mean, all year you've spoken about the Bulldogs in the future. Lockie Galvin's the prime example of where you're heading towards. What does this final series do to help, I mean, the next one and the few years to come?
It's all great experience. You know, we made the finals last year for the first time in 8 years, and we ran into a really good Manly side, gave a really good account of ourselves in the first semi-final. That knocked us out. This year we went a step better. We made the top 4. Our reward was to run into Melbourne and Panthers. We ran into the 2 top sides, which I think it's great experience, and it's something that they'll be able to lean on going into the future, and it lets us know where we stand. I thought our effort in Melbourne the other night, with all the injuries we got, was outstanding against a really class side. Penrith were too good for us on the weekend, but they've been too good for a lot of teams when they play like that. And I come out of it, you know, very, very pleased with the season that we've had and looking forward to the future. You know, it's a long race, rugby league, a long, long race. You've got to be in it.
Gus, at the start of the season, I had the Bulldogs in the Final Four, so playing this weekend.
And
you were tracking that way. You were sitting first halfway through the season. Why did the club feel the need, or why did the football team feel the need to change out Toby Sexton and Reid?
Yeah, we don't need to discuss that publicly, but if you go back and look at our draw in the first after 15 rounds we led the competition. We'd had 3 byes. Yep. I think we played the Titans twice, Parramatta twice, St George twice, South Sydney twice. We had the big games to come towards the back end of the season. We also had a bigger representation in Origin this year that we didn't expect. All right, Maxie King and Kurt Mann and those fellas played Origin. Plus other fellas were taken into camp as 18th man and other went into train. So it was a disruptive period for it that we haven't experienced for a number of years. So there were a number of things there that led to it. The decision to bring Galvin into the club was extremely important for our future, so we decided to do that. And, you know, I don't want to talk about Toby and Reid because they've been wonderful for our club. They've been great kids, and I don't want to talk about publicly where it is, but every decision that was made in there was made by people who deal with these players every day, who coach them every day, who know the players extremely well. And one thing I know about coaches, they like to win.
Yep.
They like to win. And that's why they pick the teams the way that they do. And that's how they did it. And I trust the people that deal with them all day, every day, not the people that take pot shots from the media. They don't have any influence over what we do.
You media.
You media.
Any, mic drop from Gus. Any room in that salary cap for an off-season signing? You got Leo Thompson on the way. Anything else in the works? Any scuttle for us?
We've signed Leo Thompson. We've signed Cade Dykes, and most of it else will be sort of pushing young fellas up from below, and we'll see what the next couple of seasons.
Who do you expect to be halfback going forward?
Halfback going forward?
Do you think it'll be Galvin and Burton again? I mean, Burton looked like he played pretty good in the centre. Do you have a young halfback coming through at all? Yeah,
we've got young Mitch Woods. He's on contract for 3 years, and it's really our timing, our run with him. I think he'll debut next year for absolutely sure and certain. We've been cautious with him coming through, and he's had a good season in the lower grades, and at the start of next year he'll get a chance.
Doggies fans in the crowd, you happy with where you're going? They're liking it. They're liking it. Onwards and upwards. Stay with us. You're watching 100% Footy. We've got a studio audience. They're up and about, and we are just warming up.
The
Hello Sport Boys are back in action with 100% dribble as they give their take on a wild and wacky weekend of finals footy. Olympic gold medalist and Sharks NRLW superstar Emma Verren drops by ahead of her prelim final against the Chooks. Superstar Dolphins and Tongan halfback Isaiya Katoa joins us in the studio as we look ahead to the Pacific Champs footy. And he's a North Sydney Bears legend, Bulldogs premiership winner, and the man who introduced the Super T to rugby league goal kicking, Daryl Halligan, in the house as our 100% footy retro guest tonight. All that and so much more to come. Back in a moment.
Our proudest club victory was without doubt the 2016 Premiership win against Melbourne Storm. It was a stressful week. The immune system was very low and I'm getting shingles. I struggled for the game itself, come off after about 25 minutes, which I don't normally do, but I remember the second half. They scored a try to put them in front, 12 points to 8, and I was behind the try line, I was out on my feet, everyone was tired, and we're just looking for someone to break the ice. It was actually Jim Maloney who spoke. His words were, if we ever thought we were going to get this our own way the entire time, we're absolutely kidding ourselves. That seemed to spring me into gear, and everyone sort of just come to life after that. And I remember we got a penalty, we got up there, Nick Ennis called a play.
Fafita tries to crash his way over, he does! Fafita got the ball over the line!
I walked over to him, I said, did you get it? He's like, 100% I got it. I was thinking, there's no way he got it out.
There are very few forwards in the game who would have had the ability to take on so many, get the ball over the line.
There's only one player that could have scored, and that was Andrew Fafita. He was the most amazing try in Sharks history, without a doubt. But then, of course, we had to hold on for another at least 8 or 9 minutes, and we had this drill. We used to do it at training. We used to call it 20 touch. We used to have 13 attackers up against 7 defenders for 20 touches in a row. And we made a break down the right-hand side of the field, and everyone just kept scrambling. We yelling 20 touch, 20 touch, 20 touch.
Bromwich to Smith, Smith to Hampton.
Everyone knew what we were talking about. No one stopped. Everyone kept moving.
Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with him. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. 14 to 12.
There was so many emotions, so many things going on. I was exhausted. The elation, I couldn't keep my emotions in. Just everything was flooding out at that particular time, and where we finished down that end, where all the Sharks fans were, it was just like it was meant to be, and it was the greatest moment of my sporting career.
Look at this. Amazing scenes. You can turn the light out now.
Yes. Gal reminiscing about 2016. And it won't be something to see those two old foes going head-to-head on Friday night for a spot in the grand final, minus, of course, these two old stages here on set. Gal, now we're just hearing there about, it's an amazing story, and you know, ending that drought like you and the team did. Tell us about the aftermath, because we hear there about the lead-up and the shingles and the fatigue during the match, but afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards we went back to the club. Obviously, we went on the field and celebrated a little bit, and then we went back to the club, and the doctor sort of come up to me and said, you don't look real good, and I wasn't. I ended up in hospital, and spent the night in hospital that night, and went back, got out about 11 o'clock the next day, went to the fanfare and celebrated, and didn't have a single drink for 2 days. And then I rang the doctor on the Tuesday, and I said, mate, can I have a drink? And he goes, no, don't drink. And I said, Doc, if I drink, will I die? He said, no. I was out for a week. So I had a big week. My missus told me to go out. She rang me next Tuesday and said, where the hell are you? I said, you told me to go out. She said, yeah, that was a week ago. So I had good fun. It was a good time.
Northies has never been the same since.
Still married. She's still there.
Oh, she's a trooper. Look, ahead of this one on Friday night, all the talk from a Melbourne Storm perspective is going to be about Jerome Hughes. The teams get named late tomorrow. And that arm. And look, 2 weeks ago, he suffers the fracture.
Yeah.
It'd be remarkable to see him out there. Do you think he will be there?
It'll be a huge effort. I'm not sure whether he'll be there or not, Brace. I remember speaking only last week before the Bulldogs game. I went and spoke with Craig Bellamy when the teams were warming up. He was just in the dressing room by himself, and I said, if you get through, what's Hughes' chances? And he said, pretty good. Wow. So I think he's a chance. I know he wants to play. He wants to be available. I spoke with Jerome the week after he had the surgery, and he said it feels really good, the arm. So if he gets the all clear, he'll be there.
Is there ever that thought, Gus, that you would hold him back just in case you make the grand final and you want him picture perfect for such a big match?
Yeah, there's an old saying, in your most important battle, throw your last man in. They're into sudden death mode at the moment. They've got to get to a grand final. That's out of their mind. They've got to get this right on Friday night. So I'm sure Craig Bellamy, who's been down this road many times before, will pick the team that he thinks can win. Now, for Jerome Hughes, forget about his fracture and that sort of thing. I'm still amazed that a guy who had his shoulder dislocated just some weeks ago, and it took an hour to get it back into place. They put him in an ambulance and took him to hospital to get it back into place. I was amazed he came back in the game he did. And I think the fracture's on the same arm that he dislocated it, isn't it?
It is.
It's a big risk. It is a huge risk for him to go into this game like that. But, you know, you've got to trust the medical staff, you've got to trust the coach, you've got to trust the player. He's an experienced player, he's not a rookie. He'll tell you whether he's mentally ready not to go, whether he's physically, and he knows what it's going to take. He's not going to put his team at risk if he can't go out there and tackle with that shoulder and land on that shoulder and get up and chase and do everything he has to do. So you back the experience of the people.
His last game when he broke his wrist, I didn't think he looked very comfortable defending that night.
He didn't.
He did. He looked like he was...
He can't possibly be comfortable.
No, that's what I mean. So to then break a wrist and then to have to worry about a wrist and a shoulder, that's...
he also doesn't just become another defender in the defensive line. He becomes a target.
Well, he's a halfback. Halfbacks are always targeted anyway.
That goes through the roof.
He plays on the right hand.
Carrying that in.
He plays on the right hand side of the field. The back rows are always targeting the inside shoulder of the halves, which is his left shoulder. So he's got to be good with his left shoulder all the time. It's going to be a big ask. So I don't know. And then on the other hand, do they carry Wishart and Pezzett on the bench? And all of a sudden you got two of the four bench players are backs. One's a halfback.
Galzer, I'm not too sure. That's a big gamble, isn't it? You know, having a half and a utility on the bench, taking up two spots in such a big game. When you look at the Cronulla Sharks and they've got a big physical forward pack, and then you look at their interchange bench.
Our bench is outstanding.
That's what I mean. It's big, it's aggressive. You need to match that in these big games. So it's a huge call. It's a huge call to put Jerome Hughes in. But like Gus said, it's the big matches, the experienced players, particularly Jerome Hughes. He's the reigning Dally M medalist. He's no mug. If he says I'm right to go, I'd be putting him in.
Meanwhile, the Sharks halves, Alana, humming at the right time of the year. Hines, Trindle, they were working beautifully together on Saturday night.
Yeah, they were. And also Brayley, I think, has a big impact on the footy that they can play. I mean, their packs, brilliant. But it's the timing and also the respect for one another. They're not overplaying one another at the moment. I think the way that Trindle's setting them up and organising a little bit more, because Nico does sort of like just drifting a little bit and playing off the cuff. It's working. When one player steps up, the other one sort of knows just how to chime in and add to it in a valuable way. I think overall, though, what the Sharks are doing and where they're getting a lot of their confidence is it's not just their defence, but it's their ability to, like what Gus was speaking about with the Bulldogs, they weren't able to sort of absorb the pressure, stay in the fight and then come back. I think the Sharks are doing that really well. I think they're actually able to stay in that contest, and then when they get the chances, both Braden Trindle and Nico Hines are taking their opportunities.
I think the Sharks have shown the past few weeks they can win in a couple of different ways. They played the Dogs 3 weeks ago. They completed 44 from 46 sets of 6, they scored 24 points against the best defensive side in the comp. The week later, played the Roosters and were absolutely hammered from pillar to post for 40 minutes of the game. First 20 minutes of both halves, and their defence held up. No, they showed great resilience, great resolve, and then when they got their opportunity, they went and scored plenty of points. And that was pretty similar on the weekend against Canberra. Canberra had all the field position, a lot of the ball. The Sharks hung in there, hung tough, and when they had the opportunity, made the most of it. So that's two different ways to win. I think going down to Melbourne, they'll be very confident. You got to remember, Melbourne leading into the semi-finals got beaten handsomely by 2 teams. I think the Roosters hammered them.
They had 70. They had 70.
The Roosters hammered then the Broncos. And then they only just beat the Canterbury side, who, with respect to Canterbury, I thought had a great season. I didn't think they could ever win the competition. So I think the Sharks going down there are pretty confident.
Yeah, I think it's part of their journey. I mean, the Sharks have been around the finals now for 4 or 5 years in a row. It took them 3 years to win a semi-final, just one semi-final. But what they've learned to do is feel comfortable being uncomfortable, and that resilience they've shown the last couple of weeks in particular against the Roosters and the Canberra Raiders. There was no sign of panic. They weren't in control of the game, but they were in control of their emotions and they were in control of their communication. They kept their line intact, and then when they got their opportunities, they strike. It's a really good football team that's battle-hardened. That finals football is so valuable to have that in your kit bag, and they've got plenty of it at the moment. A couple of weeks ago against the Bulldogs, it was the first time their back five had played together all season. They'd all been out injured at different sort of times, so they've actually come good. They've got full strength at the right time of the year and got their back five, which is so important to them, playing really good football. they're going to be a handful for Melbourne, a real handful down there.
All right, that's Friday night, and then we skip Saturday. Of course, the NRLW we'll be talking about later on, but from a men's perspective, we head to Sunday Arvo footy. We loved it at a call yesterday. Suncorp, it'll be something else. Now, it's our Sunday Spectacular. We're setting it up with White Water Sports live from the ground. Nick McCarthy's made way. He's got rugby union duties. I promise I haven't knifed him, but I'll be in the chair for that one. Emma straight after that for the Sunday Footy Show, followed by the NRLW Prelim, Bronco v Knights, and then could they go the double when they take on the Penrith Panthers in what is just made for afternoon footy. 27 degrees the forecast too.
Beautiful.
In your state, Cameron. And what a matchup it'll be with these two teams. And all the talk, I mean, all the talk's probably leading into this match going to be about the two most talked about players in the game, that being Walsh and Cleary.
I love everything about this matchup. Much like the first weekend of finals, where I was most excited about Raiders-Broncos, this weekend it's all about, well, you know, I'd love to see my team get up the Melbourne Storm on Friday night, but it's this matchup here. Two very different footy sides with the way they play and the way they approach the game. You know, Penrith, they're happy to just grind out a tight victory. If they can score 40 like they did in the weekend, they're happy to do that also. But this Brisbane side, they want to go out and entertain from minute one. And they just want to blow you off the park with their speed, with their power. I've not seen two teams like the Raiders and the Broncos in that first week live this year with so much speed and energy and power on the footy field. Like, no one. So it's going to be interesting how, when these two teams collide with very different approaches to the game, who will come out on top.
What about the loss of Pat Carrigan? You know, for me, he's probably in the top 2 or 3 forwards in the game. I think he's going to be a big loss for the Broncos. How does that affect them, you think?
Well, I think it won't knock their confidence too much. I think they're a group that are very confident within their own sort of, you know, team and who comes in to replace him. But I think what he does give that footy side is that 1-2 punch with Payne Haas, right? I think that's the best combination, front row combination we've got in the competition. And he gives big minutes too. He's got a high work rate. It's hard to replace something like that. But whoever comes in and fills that void will, you know, they're just another powerful player who they're going to do some damage to the Penrith defensive line.
The big team announcements tomorrow, Alana, for the Broncos. A lot of intrigue around year 6 and 7. If Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds are good to go, what do they do with Ben Hunt, Corey Pakes? He's spoilt for choice, Michael Maguire?
He's very spoilt for choice. I don't know. I think it's a tough one. I'm intrigued to see what he does do. I think the biggest thing is, and the thing that'll work always in the Broncos' favour is that element of surprise and who they've got on the bench. Like, if you carry an Ezra Mam on the bench, which is probably the way that I would lead, like, I mean, you're watching the clock and you're watching the sideline waiting for when he's going to come on for his stint and what a fresh Ezra Mam's going to do, right? So, look, they're spoilt for choice. I think anyone that they start with is going to be dangerous, but it's that player on the bench that I'd probably be more worried about containing when there is a little bit of fatigue in the game.
Considering their opposition, Gus, what's at stake? What would you be doing?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting game. It's, you know, we talk about system versus talent. Panthers pride themselves on their principles and their systems and their style of play. Brisbane rely heavily on their talent, their speed, their size, their skill and everything from that. When I watched the Canberra-Brisbane game back again, once there was a monument, and it was one of the most intriguing games of football you could ever watch. If you turned the sound down and turned the crowd down and the excitement down and actually watched the football, there was a lot of loose defence from both sides. There wasn't finals defence from either side in that game. You know, Canberra had a big lead and blew it. You know, Broncos were down 28-12 at one stage. I mean, it was hardly looking nice for them. So it will really who gets their game on first. You know, if the Panthers get into their rhythm, they will snuff Brisbane out of this. But if Brisbane get a run of penalties early or some good ball and can get on the scoreboard and get that crowd behind them, then they're an awesome beast to try and stop. The talent takes over and all of a sudden they've got no fear of consequence. They play without inhibition. They just play without fear of anything or hesitation with anything. And they can get on a roll and beat you. Talent wins. Talent does win. Which one do you want to back? Do you want to back system versus talent? I'm going to go with system. I'm going to back the Panthers.
Well, and that man, Nathan Cleary, is the one to be pulling the strings. Of course, there was a little reminder from him earlier this season about what he can do, and he's done it before to them in the 2023 Grand Final. That try, it was almost a mirror image, this one. We were at this game, and everyone's mind simply blown, and he'll be up for this. You just know that.
Yeah, I think so. You know, the big players, they love this time of year. And, you know, Gal spoke about it earlier where, you know, some of their more senior players, they weren't in that great a touch at the start of the year, and they would have spoken about that. They would have been disappointed with how the first part of this season went for them, both as a team and as individuals. But you've just seen them slowly but surely start to increase, their standards and their consistency over the last 6 weeks, and now you see them come out and produce what they did on the weekend. They're primed for a huge game to try and put themselves in another grand final.
I'm so interested to see how Brisbane go, because like Gus said, they're happy to throw caution to the wind and have a dead set crack. But a few weeks ago, I think it was the week before the semi-finals, they played a real tough brand of football. Like, it was a different brand. I remember saying, Michael Maguire must be pulling his hair out. He wants his tough football team. They hadn't produced it. Then that week they go out and produce it. They played a real tough brand of football. And then the week later they obviously went back to their old ways.
That was against Storm.
Against the Storm. But so they do have the ability to go there and to play that systematic football if they want to. But it's not generally their first thought.
Yeah, I think with the Panthers too, I know it was a big win yesterday, but with what ball the Bulldogs did have, I think they had 7 line breaks through their left-hand defence. They scored 4 tries through their left-hand defence. Probably should have scored another couple. And Casey Maguire left the field injured at one stage yesterday, had a shoulder complaint. It is a target for the Broncos. They've got some big people on that side of the field. Katoni Staggs, that's where he runs the ball. It'll come down to possession and field position, where the game is played. That'll be Cleary's aim. Cleary will have them coming off their line all day. If they can complete 20 from 20 and get the Broncos playing off their own goal line, they'll wear the Broncos down. But if the game's loose, there are opportunities to break this Panther defence line, unlike in previous years. Their left-hand defence does struggle.
All right, tickets, NRL.com/tickets. You want to be at the prelims members right now, and everyone else from Tuesday ahead of those 2 big matches. Time to go back in time. It is our retro guest for tonight, and to set the scene beautifully, our Cash Converters conversion of the week. We're going to the 1998 preliminary finals.
A big finish, Parramatta by 6 points. Glenn Hughes, long ball for Silver, then Talau in the corner. Has there been a more important kick for Canterbury? He hits it, if it hooks it, it's staying on the line. He's got it, and the man is a messiah. He's a freak. That's it, freak. It's unbelievable.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daryl Halligan is in the house. The sharpshooting superstar, former Bulldog, former Bear, and Kiwi sensation. Daryl, great to have you here, mate.
Be here, Brace. No questions on 1991, thanks.
No, won't bring it up, mate. Won't bring it up. No, you've done a lot of good off the tee and off the sand, I should say, too. We'll talk about that a little later on. But just seeing that match from way back when, a huge moment in your career, no doubt.
Yeah, it was a big goal that it's talked about probably the most if anyone has a chat. Not too much chat coming from the Parramatta side, but the doggies love to talk about it. The only thing I really regret there, Gary Carden is the trainer running back. We just missed the high five. It was like something we couldn't really know.
Did you see the ball? It was actually curving and then straightened. Why? Was that the wind? Did you know the wind was blowing that way, or was it blowing that way?
No, it wasn't. It was flat out there. I'd been at the ground the day before having a couple of practice attempts, which I used to like to go to the grounds and kick the day before. And I had a couple do that, and I thought I'd over-kick kicks when they start bending and lose their shape a little bit and go the other way. But it was a little bit of fate, really. I mean, it was too close to left post, and yes, I was a bit blessed that it started to work its way back to the right.
One of the things you're most renowned for, Daryl, is coaching goal kickers at clubs. I think you're across 5 clubs at the moment.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
That's amazing. But is it true you had a big hand in this bloke and what he used to do off the kicking tee? Because he's given credit to no one but himself.
This guy actually got me into a lot of trouble one of my trips down to Melbourne. Smithy had sent a couple across the face of goal, and I said, Smithy, you're better than that. Just start aiming up, and I want you to actually hit left post. And he actually hit left post twice in a couple of games. So the next time I went down there, Coach Bellamy said, Halligan, I need to see you. He basically pulled me aside and he said, can you stop my goal kicker hitting the left post, please? So I was sort of caught in between, but yeah, so no, I had a bit of fun with Smithy.
No, I did a lot of work with Chook, and he certainly helped me with my kicking. Mate, can you tell us about the transition from kicking off sand, as Brace spoke about, to now the kicking tees?
Well, I was actually going to bring a bucket of sawdust along because Peter Devlin at North Sydney Oval wouldn't actually let you use sand and make your mould with sand. God. And you had to use sawdust and get the water bottle and squeeze it a little bit and make a nice little mound. But, I mean, it's a lot more, I guess, convenient to, let's say, have a tee which is something like Matt Burton, Stephen Crichton kick off right now to place the ball on. And it's basically more convenient. And they've sort of evolved over the years too to get a little bit of shape and the different throat on them, a little bit of teeth, so a flat base wiggles into the ground, holds its space, and then also for the restart of play.
Yep.
You might not get this detail with a camera, but there's a couple of little rounded edges on the tips of the teeth, so your sort of ball sits on it and floats off nicely. So there's a little bit of technology there as well.
Daryl, did you kick with a leather ball when you were coming
I did
through?
in 1991.
Big difference?
Yeah, there was, especially in the wet. It was really hard to control. So a combination of a little mound of sand and a wet ball. I think if you go back and have a look at the stats, 67% was my first year in the NRL at 1991. And that was actually considered pretty good.
2 from 3.
But it was rubbish. Wind the clock forward now, and I mean, guys are having years. Nathan in particular, you know, he's 80, 88, 89% averages. Even someone like Sam Walker coming through is a good one to watch. He's kicked closer to 90 through 50 kicks. Yeah, so the guys are setting the bar really, really high. And more importantly, in this time of year as well. Yep. This is the time to get on a run, get a sequence going and nail goals.
I was going to ask you, who out of the 5 clubs that you work with, but who's one of the players that hits it the sweetest, but also, as you mentioned, pressure. Pressure's everything with those big kicks as well. Well,
I think, you know, history will tell you that everyone in NRL knows that they think Nathan Cleary's the best goal kicker in the game. He's kicked 80 goals so far this year. A couple of guys have been chasing him really, really hard. Jermaine Asako's kicked 88% through 120 goals this year. You know, I think of the up-and-comers, even Nico Gal's kicked, you know, 80 goals this year. And he'll close out the year, you know, at 83, 84%. So the bar is 80% plus, but the real key to it is having 100 attempts a year. If you can have 100 attempts a year, I mean, you can kick well and kick, you know, 19 out of 20. But if you can kick 100 goals a year, do it back to back, you will start setting the bar then.
Have you worked with any of the great rugby kickers around the world? And who stood out in that game?
2 in particular. I was blessed. My first year out of playing, I was employed by the New Zealand Rugby Union to work with their up-and-coming kickers. And Andrew Mertens was a little bit older back then, but Dan Carter was coming through. And then more recently, 7 or 8 years ago, when Johnny Mitchell took over the Blue Bulls in South Africa, I managed to get some work done with Andre Pollard. So Carter and Pollard are probably your 2 biggest kickers in the game. So.
And how much of it is mental? Like, how much do you put into the mental part of the kicking?
Well, you're not going to get there if you don't do the physical part of it anyway. The mental shape of it is really important. The key to it is not brushing your negative moments and talking to someone about a negative kick, but actually getting them to talk to you about their good kicks. When someone talks to you about a good kick, their shape, their rotation, coming back off right pole, you know that you got them, their lines right, they actually mind's engaged into what they're doing. Instead of, you know, kicking 6 from 7, and when I rock up to training, they want to talk about the one they missed.
The reason I asked that is, I remember you saying to me at one stage of his career, I said, if you had to pick a kicker to kick a goal to save your life, who would you pick? And you said to me, Jonathan Thurston. He said his technique's not perfect, but he'll will it through the posts. He's got the ability to kick the one that counts.
Yeah, well, JT was, you know, like he was a quick learner back in the time, had a massive shape on his kick. And the thing I actually sort of like, in a way, thought to myself about JT, what does he do when he gets to the middle of the field? What sort of shape is he going to put on it? But, I mean, talent works that out.
He watches this show every Monday. How did he stuff up that kick from the side?
Well, I then handed him over to Smithy to coach.
I've got to ask, too, if you're working for 5 clubs, have you rocked up at the wrong one in the wrong gear?
You got to double check your wardrobe, bro.
That's brilliant.
How do you go to the right or the left foot? Like Smithy was a left footer, obviously. Did that matter or change the way you spoke to them?
Inside it did, hopefully not on the outside, because left-footers have always thought they're better than us right-footers. So my goal was like Dan Carter, Cameron Smith and that. I was up against it, so I'm always trying to beat them at the end of the competition to put them in their place. But no, it's just total reverse.
Daryl, before we let you go, I've got to ask, because there's 2 Bears fans here in the house and one on the set. How happy are you to see them coming back as the Perth Bears?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, I think it's probably their last chance of keeping the Bears alive in the competition. So looking forward to the roster, or a roster that they roll out quickly, and actually seeing those colours run around as well. So, I mean, in the first year, I mean, it's going to be a queue up to get to Percy's, isn't it? Across the road. So, yeah, no, I'm stoked the Bears are back.
If you're after a 6 club, mate, there you go. Don't stuff up the colours when you come to Perth. Ladies and gentlemen, Daryl Halligan in the house. Our retro guest here tonight, Bears and Bulldogs legend. What a treat it is to have him here. Stay with us in just a moment. One of the stars on the rise, Isaiya Katoa, is going to join us right here to discuss the Dolphins season that was and what's to come. And of course, he'll be a red hot part of the Pacific Championships, which are right around the corner.
Katoa, there's that running game. He busted up the middle.
That's kind of where all my, I guess, love for the game started, was just seeing my older brother do it.
Once again, the dummy half work from Katoa. Really classy.
It was pretty inspirational. You know, want to one day be like him and play NRL, play for Tonga, represent our country, and just seeing how proud that made my parents and my grandparents was, I guess, where it all started. Man, I actually remember this moment.
Hello.
Hi, Mum. It genuinely caught me off guard. I had no idea that Wayne was going to choose me to start that week. It's something you definitely dream of as a kid, and to be able to make this call to my parents and I guess tell them that I'm going to make my debut was one of the best things.
Very happy about all that work, huh?
Yeah. Speaking to Wayne in the lead up to that, he wanted me to just go out there, enjoy the experience, enjoy the moment, and have fun. It's something I remember he did say to me was, go out there and have fun.
Isaiya Katoa, what an afternoon it is for him, making his NRL debut.
19 years of age, got a lot of talent.
Your NRL debut only comes around once. Enjoy having my family there to watch me.
The Dolphins, history at Suncorp Stadium. And Isaiya Katoa, with his last act as a Penrith player, has snatched the trophy.
Obviously, being a Penrith junior, I remember just growing up and just, I guess, idolising him.
Cleary, dummies, runs, explodes into the backfield.
And seeing the way he plays, how he goes about, his work.
That is perfection from the Penrith halfback.
Obviously, being a halfback as well, he's someone that I guess I looked up to as a young kid, and to be able to play against him back there at Penrith was, one of the most special moments of my career so far. And of course, on this return game, he comes back and kicks the field goal right in my face.
Back for Cleary, shot from 42 metres. They're all running at home. Nathan Cleary is back.
Yeah, just being able to match up against him, it was such an awesome experience, and one I always look forward to every year.
Yes, one of the stories of this season, Isaiya Katoa of the Dolphins, and he's here with us tonight. It's great to see you, mate. Look, I know the team finishing outside the 8 only just this year, but you've got to be reflecting pretty fondly on the year for the team, but obviously for yourself as well.
Yeah, we're obviously very proud of the year that we had at the club, and I think we're more so proud of some of the improvements that we made, especially just around our training, the way we bought into pre-season, the way we found our identity as a team as well. I think we really built that, and we found that as the year went on. And we obviously struggled a little bit with injuries, and but overall, as a whole, we're still really proud of some of the work and some of the improvements that we did make as a team.
Yeah, it was a big improvement as a club from last season, Izzy. But is there any particular game or games that you look back on and think what could have been? Because you missed out on the top 8 this year by one win.
Yeah, there's probably a couple that come to mind. Think back to round one, we actually had a good opportunity against Souths. I know we had a little bit of disruption, but we spoke about it as a team about not making that an excuse and making that something to just lean back on just because of the result. But I think back to that game, I think back to the game against Newcastle in Perth, one where we lost it on the bell, and I think for the game we were in control. And when you think back to those games, you probably don't think it at the time how important it's going to be. But when you get to the end of the year and you're fighting for a spot in the 8, and like you said, you were only one game away from it, you probably look back and you're like, oh, you probably wish you could have won that game. And all those games that were pretty close, yeah.
Isaiya, first time I met you, I had one conversation with you. Listen to the way you talk now. Listen to the way you talk on TV. You're so mature. I'm just, what are you, 21 years of age?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, was that the reason you left Penrith? You had the opportunity, you're a Penrith junior, grew up in Penrith. You grew up idolising Nathan Cleary. Probably would have had an opportunity to stay with him and play with him. Are you so mature you just wanted to move on and create your own legacy?
Yeah, I think that's... I could have definitely stayed at Penrith, and I still had the option of staying at Penrith. When I was making the decision to go over to the Dolphins, I actually said to my dad that, I'm not too sure about how I feel about moving over there. Done so much in terms of development with this club, made such a good relationship and built such a great bond at that club with everyone involved. And I just knew that if I was to stay at that club, I'd still make so much development in my own game. But also I get to sit there and learn behind Nathan Cleary, Jerome Luai. There were some great halves that were above me, and Jersey Flegg and New South Wales Cup as well. And I was excited at that opportunity. But when the Dolphins come and approach me and sitting down and having a conversation with Wayne, it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up on. Going over there, being a first grader, doing it week in, week out, being a part of the top 30 squad where you can learn from other guys that have played in NRL as well. And obviously being coached by Wayne, it was an opportunity that I was definitely not passing up.
You've also got some experienced half partners at the Dolphins. You get all the raps, obviously, but Cody Nikorima and Sean O'Sullivan, what part have they played in your development within the team?
Yeah, I think obviously Cody was such a massive part for our success this year, and especially me, myself. He's the ears behind me, and everything that I see in attack, he's encouraging that. He will be tipping me up during the game and saying, I see this, I'll see that. But I think in terms of Sean as well, my first 2 years, Sean was my sounding board. He was my halfback when I first got there, and he's helped me develop my own game, just in terms of how to see the game. Sean is such a great half in terms of controlling a game. He's helped me a lot with that, especially around kicking game, certain scenarios of what to do, and he obviously had a bit of experience behind Nathan as well. So, I loved working with both of them, and they've definitely helped my career out so far.
I've heard you interviewed a couple of times this year. One of the things I've been impressed is you're very team-minded. You know that you've got, Farnsworth and Hammer and these fellas outside you. You've got brilliant outside backs. And you talk about your responsibility to give them time and space, that everything you do is to create something for them. You've got your own little individual things, but you're constantly team conscious about giving them space, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. When you have guys like Herbie Farnworth and Hammer, Jake Averillo on the right, honestly, you just need to get them the ball and give them the ball in space as well. It's not just giving them early ball and letting them try and come up with something themselves. Trying to give them a bit of time, a bit of space to go and do their magic. And it's something that not only myself, but me and Cody worked over the pre-season about how we can get those guys more involved in the game.
Pacific Championships, what's your rep football?
Yeah, excited. Playing for Tonga this year, so very excited. It'll be an awesome campaign.
We'll get more onto that shortly. Now, of course, for our regular viewers would have noticed throughout the finals campaign, here on 9, we're unveiling the Rugby League Players Association Awards, which are awards voted by the players for the players champion for the NRL and NRLW. That gets announced on Grand Final Day. In a moment, we're going to reveal the positions. So the dream team, as voted by the players, for the players, but our halfbacks, these are the nominees. I tell you what, you're in some handy company here, Izzy, alongside Nathan Cleary and the Queensland superstar Tommy Din. Well done, mate, being amongst that company at such a young age. Particularly when it's voted by fellow players.
Yeah, exactly. You said it perfectly there, man. It's awesome to just even be recognised with guys like Nathan Cleary and Tommy Dearden, I thought Nathan just has so much control over his own game, but also over the team. And Tom Dearden was such a standout player for the Cowboys, and rightfully so. He went into the Queensland team and took a lot of control and took a lot of responsibility over taking over DCE's spot. And I thought he just flourished in that position. And after that series, he just went back to club and just had an unreal year with the Cowboys. And obviously they weren't as successful as Penrith and Nathan, but he was such a standout for the Cowboys.
And he's stayed as well. So, the Rugby League Players Association Dream Team. Let's have a look at what the players have come up with for their fellow players, and many of them, of course, rivals. So we've got James Tedesco at fullback, Mark Nawidawonsa at winger, and Xavier Coates. I've nailed the name all year until now. Herbie and Stephen Crichton in the centres. You've got Ethan Strange at 5'8", and well done, Izzy. You're there at Nathan who? Tommy who? Izzy, you star. Well done, mate, on a great year. Clark Katoa Young, the back row, the front row. Harry Grant, Joseph Talpanay, Payne Haas, and Kurt Mann, the impact off the bench, Gus. You happy with that?
Kurt Mann, been brilliant. Played for Queensland this year too, debuted at an old age. It's great.
Marky Mark, no longer need to say.
That's it.
Third time lucky, baby. Gus, that's the dream team as voted by the players. We've got your dream team.
Mine was a different criteria.
What was what did they tell you to do?
Eh? Well, it was different. my podcast is a bit random, and
So obviously you don't like your team.
Eh?
Obviously you don't like.
No, I
your
wouldn't
team.
put Bulldogs in it.
Right.
I said I wouldn't put Bulldogs in it. But I looked at people that had a big impact for their club during the course of the year. So I went to some underrated ones, but I'm happy with that. That team would beat everyone. So
no,
I think Gus had different criteria. He doesn't have Izzy and
exactly.
Well, I went for Tommy Dearden, so
pretty handy as well.
Yeah.
There you go, it's good.
My team would beat the other team. Don't worry.
I would like to think so. So no dogs in there. Are there any Panthers in there? Interesting. All right, there you go, Gus. Look at you, eagle eye. Now, Gus mentioned it there, Pacific Championships. Of course, you've got a few options, don't you? Of course, Cook Island's in there as well, but Tonga you'll be running out for at the Pac Champs.
Yeah, Tonga will be running out for, but Mum's Cook Island, so one day. Still an aspiration on mine, but one day I probably want to represent the Cook Islands.
Well, brilliant, mate. It's going to be a hell of a series. There's one match in particular, Tonga, Samoa. It's a Sunday afternoon. You're nodding. You've already circled it. Yep.
Suncorp.
You've already circled that one, haven't you?
Yeah. Once we found out that we're going to be playing against Samoa, is something that's just always floating in the back of my mind. But it's something I'm looking forward to.
What about Origin? Origin must be a goal of yours.
Yeah, for sure. Origin's definitely a goal of mine, and I think I'm pretty fortunate. But also a little bit unfortunate to have such great players in front of me with Nathan Cleary, Mitch Moses, Jerome Luai, Nicker Hines in there as well. But yeah, it's still a goal of mine to hopefully play for the Blues one day.
Joey's already got you there, ready to go. Before we let you go, we have our tab 2 during the finals, and we've got you to do some homework and give us your 2 finals moments, thanks to Tab, and I love the 2 that you've chosen. We saw just a second ago when Daryl was on the show, winding the clock back to 2015, and JT.
Yeah, the field goal, even just the try and the whole lead up to it, how he missed the goal to win the game, and then for someone to stand up like that in the biggest game of the year and probably one of the biggest games of his career and slot the field goal, I think there's no one else that you want.
You know he missed the goal on purpose.
Yeah,
he missed the goal on purpose. He wanted all the glory. Yeah. He wanted all the glory again.
It's better when he kicks the field goal.
That makes so little sense.
Jonathan Thurston, he just wanted the attention. He missed it on purpose.
Well, that doesn't seem that long ago, but Izzy was only 11 when that game was played.
Wow.
11.
That's
crazy.
I was turned 41. That's the last thing I needed to hear.
What year were you born?
2004.
2004.
Smithy played 200 games.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And look, it's your tab 2, so there is a second one there for us, and your mate Nathan Cleary and that masterclass he put on in the final quarter of the 23 grand final.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen such a dominant performance. A dominant 20-minute performance in the biggest game of his career. Just the way the whole momentum swung between, I think it was Ezra Mam scoring 3 tries, and then just the way he took control and just had his hands on the footy the whole 20 minutes. He kicked the 40-20, set up Moses Leota for a try, and then ultimately goes and scores the try and kicks the goal to win the game. So, yeah, it's probably one of my favourites.
A little reminder for Brisbane ahead of Sunday afternoon as well. Izzy, your class on the field and off it, mate. Congratulations on Rugby League Players Association Halfback of the Year. And the season you've had, mate. Well done. Izzy Katoa joining us here on 100% Footy. In just a moment, Danny Weiler swings by with Scuttlebutt Central. He's a busy man, been working the phone. And the Hello Sport guys are back to go through the week that was in Rugby League.
Coming up on 100% Dribble, the biggest question in rugby league over the last 7 days still yet to be answered. Good news out of the Manly Seagulls for Manly Seagulls fans. 2 more teams leave the season loss, and Bulldogs karma. Is it a real thing? You are listening to 100% Dribble with Hello Sport. Now, Eddie, 2 less teams in the NRL finals. The Raiders, the first to go. From minor premiers, loss, out the back door. But there was some heartwarming scenes from the Cronulla Sharks. Post-game press conference, Fitzy brings his little boy into the presser, sitting next to him. He's wearing Cronulla gear. It was a nice sight.
Tom, I thought the same thing initially. Innocent mistake on our behalf. That's actually Cronulla captain Blake Brayley.
That's Blake Brayley?
Yeah, that's Blake Brayley.
That's Fitzy's son?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, I apologise to Blake Brayley
and the Brayley family.
The Brayley family at large. Now, unfortunately for the Canterbury Bulldogs, Edward, they were the second team to go loss in the finals this weekend. And a lot of their critics are coming out and they're blaming it on mid-season signings, changing of player personnel, switching and moving things around, even putting it down to bad karma, bad juju, if you will. But that's not us.
Absolutely not us. We know what Gus and the Bulldogs are trying to do. They're building for the future.
Correct.
Now, you could sit here and say that, opportunities in rugby league are rare and very hard to come by, and very, very, very few opportunities come around for you to win a comp. And so why would you throw that down the drain, Tom?
Not us.
Not us. Gus, we get what you're doing, and we know that you're a visionary.
We're Gus guys here.
Big Gus guys. If you want to come on and you want to talk,
we'd love to have you on the podcast.
Properly, then we can do that.
We'd love to have you on the podcast.
Love it.
Are you doing something different with your hair today?
You look great, by the way.
You look gorgeous.
Have you lost weight?
You have, haven't you?
You have.
You cheeky devil. Come on the podcast anyway. You're welcome anytime.
Anytime.
Now, the biggest question in rugby league last week still yet to be answered.
What's an apple?
Well, Brandon doesn't know, Tom. He's not prepared to answer. Is anyone prepared to answer the toughest question going around rugby league right now?
Well, Crawls clearly has no idea.
And I don't know how much cocaine that is. I don't know how much it is, how many people it feeds.
How many people it feeds? What is this, a family dinner?
Tom, what sort of family sharing an 8-ball?
Not that we know what one is, by the way. And if you're a Manly fan, things are going from good to great.
To terrific.
Not only have we been rejected by Daly Cherry Evans, who's leaving the club, Mick Ennis has decided to sign with the Dragons. Jake Turpin of third-string Bulldogs hooker fame, he's rejected the club. Laurie Daly's rejected the club. Tommy Turbo now looking set to reject the most recent offer from the club, maybe due to the fact that he might have been lowballed.
But in a big win for the club, Tom, rejections are set to stop. With a yes finally coming our way, Adam O'Brien, fresh off a spoon at the Knights, has said yes, Tom, to an assistant coaching position at the Seagulls. Reportedly he's set to bring a winning mentality back to the club.
Huge development of the Manly Seagulls. What an off-season it looks set to be. I'm pumped. That's it for another week, though, punters and dribblers. Thanks for having us. Enjoy your rugby league football. We'll see you next week.
100% dribble with our Hello Sport boys for another week on 100% Footy. And they set it up beautifully for 100% Scuttlebutt with Denny Widler. Hello, Denny.
James.
At least they love you in this studio.
Love. Boo means love.
Only a couple of boos here tonight. The boys mentioned there in their piece, the Nine newspapers yarn this week about Tommy Turbo And a bit of disgruntlement there, told one thing 1 minute and something else the next about the contract extension.
Yeah, look, well, recently Michael Chamis wrote a story saying that Tommy Trbojevic is about to sign a new contract with Manly, 3 years, and his intentions were to do that because he thought it was a deal worth around between 850 and 900,000 a year for 3 years. When it came to actually doing the deal, it was much less. It was 900, 800, 700, figures like that. So, you know, people can call this a media beat-up, whatever they want to call it. Be sure Tom Trbojevic is not happy. He's a he's a Manly legend. He's Manly through and through, but he's not happy with the way the club's treated him. Now, it was right round 4 this year where Daly Cherry Evans sat on this panel speaking to you guys, where he said he didn't want to be part of Manly anymore, that he had other plans. Now, the administration stuffed that up. They made a big mistake the way they handled Daly Cherry Evans, and as a result, he's not there anymore. And now they're risking Tommy going as well. But I would say that he's more likely to stay than go. But at the minute, he's got an offer from Warrington. I think he'd rather stay with Manly. But the treatment that Manly have given Tom Trbojevic is below par. They're trying to blame it on ratchet clauses not being included or ratchet options not being included in the contract. I've talked to Tommy's management today, who said that they were definitely part of the conversation. So,
Didn't Turbo go to Manly or to the NRL this year and say he wants to take a pay cut?
Yeah, I think it was last year when he wanted to do that. Yeah.
Was it this year or last year?
I think it was last year he offered because he felt like he wasn't giving them value for money.
So now they're trying to take him up on the offer.
Yeah, well, but this is actually a significantly reduced deal. He's on over $1 million now. He's taking less money to stay, and he's as loyal to Manly as any player has ever been. I don't know what Manly are thinking. I mean, they've got a couple of good players who are not off contract yet, but who are potential fullbacks. They've got Lehigh Hopewadi and Tolokola, who could easily play fullback. Gus, you know both of those players, and they're on. I think they're contracted till about 2027-ish. But if they see Tommy stay, maybe they get a bit itchy because they're both. Particularly, I think Cooler's got a lot of potential to maybe be a lightning fast fullback in the mould of a KO Weeks sort of type player. Do you see potential in him?
Yeah, well, they're both great players, and I think both would love to be playing fullback. They understand that Tommy's first pick there. If Tommy was to extend, managers get more nervous than players about where their player's going to be playing. What's his space, I suppose. I think it would be really unfortunate if Tom Trbojevic ever left Manly. I don't like to see players leave their clubs, particularly great players like Tommy. But he has struggled the last couple of years in getting on the field and staying on the field. And, going forward, he's still got 12 months to go at Manly. And I can't see anyone accommodating a player of that ilk and that sort of salary this late in the salary cap management at the moment. So, hopefully it all works out. I'd like to see him stay at Manly.
Denny, let's head to the Roosters.
Yep.
James Tedesco, as we've seen, he's expected to walk away with Dally M honours yet again after a bumper personal season with the Roosters. His future at the club?
Well, he says it's his best, probably not his best season. 2019 probably his best season, but it's right up there. And I had a chat to him recently to ask him about his future. How many more years do you think you got left in you?
Mate, I don't know, people probably asked me that over the last couple of years, and my body and my mind hasn't changed. I think as long as I'm enjoying my footy, then sky's the limit, I guess. But I haven't felt like that this is enough for me or that I've had enough. I've been loving going into training every day, and when I sort of start to lose that a bit, that's when I'll have a good thinking about it. But it's definitely not in my mind at the moment.
So you're thinking maybe 2, 3?
Yeah, definitely.
He's happy, James. He wants another 2 or 3 more seasons. Cam, you played for a long time, and you know how to do that. I mean, do you see Teddy 2 or 3 seasons down the track as someone you'd still want at your club?
Well, I think the most important thing, Denny, that he just mentioned was that he's still enjoying it as much as he ever has. And so as long as he's enjoying it still, he's going to get the most out of himself, both physically and mentally. The only thing with James and the position that he played, very different to me, is that he plays an explosive style of football. So if ever his body starts to let him down and he loses a bit of that zip, I didn't have any speed to start with, so I didn't lose any. if that starts to wane or starts to fade, then that's when you can have issues because you've always got those younger players always nipping at your heels.
I think that's the key, though. Like, he's at the moment, he's not losing any speed. He's not losing any fitness. I grew up until I was old as well, but speed didn't matter to you or me. But it matters to fullbacks. In that position, absolutely. But he's not slowing down at all at the moment. But as I said earlier, Father Time's undefeated for a reason.
But just out of interest, what finally made the decision for you? Did you retire from training or did you retire from playing?
I just think from the whole thing, Gus. Yeah, I remember I spoke with Gal, I spoke with Billy, Jonathan Thurston, and I actually asked them in that final season of mine about what was it that stood out to you when you made your mind up, and they all had one reason, whether it be at training one day or from an injury or whatever it was, and they just in that moment they said, I've had enough. But I was much like James. Where I was enjoying it as much as I'd ever done. Physically, mentally, I was okay. I think ultimately, winning the grand final, being at my age at 37, going into turning 38, family situation, the whole lot. I think it was just the right time for me.
Moving on to finals footy, great insight from these couple of legends here. Denny, Gal Sharks. They've loved this siege mentality. Everyone's been riding them off all year. They're 2 from 2 in finals footy now, looking to make it 3 from 3 on Friday.
It was actually Nico Hines who first started talking about this. He saw a few journos outside a press box, outside a dressing room, and gave them a little clip. Said, "You're the guys who've been saying we can't do it all year." So it's definitely, and that's unlike Nico to do that. It's definitely in the blood down there. They've really got something that's annoying them. I don't know if Gal's noticed it. I don't know if it's you who's put this thought in their head to hate the world.
I haven't put the thought in their head, but I've noticed it also. I've interviewed the boys after games, and a lot of them have mentioned and said it.
Do you like it?
Oh, look, whatever motivates you, I think. I don't believe motivation's a big thing in the game these days. I think they should be all disciplined enough to be as good as they can be every week. But I do think respect is earned. And to be fair, when you look at the past 5, 6, 7 seasons, I think there's only 1 or 2 teams that have really earned respect in big games. That's been the Panthers and probably the Melbourne Storm. So I do think the media are harsh on them because I think there's another 15 teams in the competition that haven't really earned that much respect in semi-final time. And the Sharks, unfortunately, the past 2 or 3 seasons have been one of them. But they're producing at the moment, which is what they've got to do.
Gal, what's interesting, I talked to Melbourne today, and they're very aware of it, Cam. I mean, they'd be hearing that noise, and I don't know if that would be motivating for them or they'd see it as a change of attitude from Cronulla.
I think they'll be very much aware of the form that Cronulla are bringing into this game. I think out of the 2 sides, they've got the better form line over the past 4 to 6 weeks. There's no doubt about that. I said in the coverage of the Sharks Canberra game on the weekend that when you look at the lead-in that the Sharks have had, they're playing as good as anyone that was left in the final series. So they'll be extremely confident. The most confident they've ever been going down to Melbourne. And this year, head-to-head, they played 2 games, I believe. It's 1 each. And I think if there's a time, we spoke about this at the start of the show, if there's a time to get Melbourne, this is the time to get them.
Very quickly, Denny, because I know you got some mail on both these key injuries for finals. Jerome Hughes, will he be playing Friday?
Trained today, according to Melbourne. Said that he got through it. He's got to get through tomorrow, but looking more likely to play than not.
Liam Martin?
Bit of carry on, he reckons. He had a bit of an up and under after that incident where we saw him bending over in the tunnel, but apparently okay. Right. He doesn't want to get a rib X-rayed, apparently.
Oh, the madman that he is.
That old trick.
Scuttlebutt with Denny Weidler with a live studio audience. Handled beautifully, as always. Stay with us in just a moment. Emma Barron is in the house, our NRLW superstar, joining us to talk all things the women's game. Ahead of a couple of blockbuster prelims. We're back with Emma in just a moment. Welcome back to 100% Footy. What about the NRLW prelims this weekend? Gosford the scene Saturday night here on 9 for the Roosters and the Sharks. And then part of our bumper Sunday, it will be a special afternoon in the sun at Suncorp when the Broncos and Knights go head-to-head. The winner of each match goes through to the grand final 13 days away. And what a day that'll be, I'm pleased to say. Emma Barron of the Cronulla Sharks joins us in the studios here tonight. Emma, great to have you here. You are flying at the moment, not only in footy, but in life. Of course, you're an Olympic champion in rugby sevens. You're an NRLW superstar, married a year ago. You're ticking all the boxes. Yeah. Congrats on everything.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a good year. I think coming out with the Sharkies girls, we had obviously their grand final loss last year, so we were ready to kind of back it up with a big year. And yeah, we're looking forward to the prelim this week.
This time of the year doesn't get any better, even whether you're a fan and I imagine as a player.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think it's do or die footy, you know, anything can happen. And, you know, I know there's a lot of people back in the Roosters, but we have full belief as a Sharks group that we can pull off a big win.
Em, you spoke about the grand final loss last year. I mean, you do have to take on one of the juggernaut sides in the Roosters, but what did you learn from last year's grand final that'll help you?
Yeah, I think we learnt that we have it in us. You know, we can put points on them, and we have to keep the ball in play and we have to play our best. But as I've said, you know, I full back ourselves and we've got it in us. We just need to kind of put all the pieces together on the day.
I was down in the club today and Anessa Biddle and Quincy Dodd, there's a few rumours floating around they may play. Would you think they'll be back?
Yeah, they're incredible. I think we've missed Anessa this year in the centre. She's so good out of yardage. She's an absolute beast. I love playing with her. And Quincy Dodd, she's kind of like a spiritual leader of our team. You know, we all love playing with her and she's such a big Cronulla local and she's a really big heart of the team. So I don't know, it'll be up to the doctors, but me personally as a player, I'd love to have both of them back in.
Was that one of your appearances you got to do as an ambassador of the Sharks, gal, just to get that little monthly, yep.
Send them the bill.
I go down multiple times a week, thank you.
Shake a few
Most
hands.
days.
In the
Wave.
gym. In the
gym, yeah. Got to do me work.
Ask why there's no bronze statue outside the ground.
I've got a mural.
That's right.
That'll do me.
It's got to be.
Emma, the Roosters have been extremely dominant. They haven't lost a game all year. And the Broncos have been just as dominant. The only game they lost was to the Roosters. I mean, how much better are those two teams compared to all the others at the moment?
Thanks, Gus. Yeah, I think, I don't know, you know, it's a big debate this year whether they've, you know, had an advantage, where they've got so many star players. And I think we were talking about it as a group the other day and I think they have something like 10 girls in that Origin squad. So they all get an extra 6 weeks of pre-season with their coach, which none of the other clubs are getting. And when you've already got amazing players and then they're getting that extra training on top of that, I think that kind of is something that I guess we could potentially look at as changing, because I think, you know, playing whatever we have, 11 rounds, is just not enough footy for the rest of the comp to kind of catch up.
All right, so that in case expansion of the women's game, I mean, are we at the saturation point at the moment, or do you think we need more teams?
In my opinion, I'm very happy with the amount of teams. No more at this point, but we would love to see an expanded season. You know, as I just said, 11 games for a year is just not enough to improve. And, you know, we're getting paid and we want to like put a good performance out and we want to expand the game and we want people to want to watch us. And to do that, we need to be playing more footy.
What about for the Sharkies on the weekend taking on the Roosters? I personally think the way that Georgia Hanaway's unlocked your side, you being a half, you get better footy as well. How key is she for your success taking them on?
Yeah, she's been killing it. I think we moved her into 9 when we lost Quincy Dodd and she's kind of absolutely taken the opportunity with both hands and she's running out of 9. She's awesome and I think teams are guessing around her. So I think she's kind of unlocked those big forwards in like Ellie Johnston and people like that.
Sunday arvo. So if the Sharkies go through, Broncos and the Knights, who's the most likely that you'll be playing and can you knock them off in the big one?
It's hard to go past the Broncos. I think, you know, as we've just spoken about all season, they've been on the top. But I think the Knights have it in them and I think they'll be...
Jessie Southwell.
Yeah, they'll be competitive and they'll know all Tamika's tricks after playing with her for a number of years. So I think that one could get pretty competitive.
Knights are my smoky. I think Knights have a solid chance of taking on the Broncos.
Yeah.
I reckon they're red hot. Jessie Southwell is definitely the key and containing Tamika. But honestly, the way that Jessie Southwell's playing, it's a little bit Nathan Cleary-like. She has total control over that side.
Yeah, she does.
Didn't she go to the Broncos next year?
Gus, it's this year. 2025, we don't know yet.
Oh, right.
Right. So, yeah.
She wants to win one more at the Knights. Come on.
Okay.
I hope not.
Are you scuttlebutting? Scuttlebutt was last seg.
You media.
Luck in a big city.
You media people.
Emma, great to have you in here. Can't wait for this weekend, honestly, across all 4 prelims. Well done in your season. Long may it continue for another 2 games. Emma Vera joining us here in the studio ahead of the NRLW prelim. Stay with us in just a moment. Our predictions for the weekend ahead. What a weekend it's going to be. Back in a moment. we're back and we're at the business end now of 100% Footy ahead of preliminary final weekend. Prediction time for all 4 games across the NRL and NRLW. Gal, I know you got two Sharks teams out.
Shark, Broncos, and probably can't go past the Panthers.
Cameron, who you got?
I'm going to go Storm Broncos in the men's.
Yep.
And I think the 2 dominant sides in the women's, Broncos Rooster.
Alrighty. Alana?
I'm going to go Storm Penrith in the men's, but up the Sharkies. And the girls, I'm going to go Roosters Knights.
Yes.
Wow.
In the men's, I'm going to go Shark Panther. And in the women's, I'm going to go Shark Bronco.
Oh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see what happens. We are done here tonight for our preliminary final preview. Thanks to this audience and you at home.
This has been another presentation from Nine's Wide World of Sports.